is my invention. It's for coronavirus. My son is my demonstration here. What it's got is a box that I made. So I got a computer fan and a hose that creates a positive air pressure to the hood. And underneath the hood, you can see I've got a helmet. Turn around sideways again. I've hot glued a tap on there, and so now there's a positive air pressure where he can feel the air come rushing down the top. And now, liability's sake, you definitely want to wear a mask underneath, but air rushes, and you can see how it's puffing out right here. So there's always fresh air that is filtered through a Hepifilter, and a Hepifilter is rated for catching the virus. And so now I created this just so that if you wanted to make this at home, the following videos explain how to make this at home. I made it on the kitchen table with parts I bought from Menards and Tool Crib. The fan, I can turn around sideways here. The fan is a computer fan. That cost me $15. The rest of the parts inside the filter, the Hepifilter, was $20, I think, for the Hepifilter. This hose was like $5. Hose clamps, another $2. The helmet was $14. This hood on the top, that was $12. Of course, this is nothing more than just a painting suit, but the nice thing about this, it has a positive air pressure. So when you're wearing this, all the air in the hood has been filtered through the Hepifilter. And so that, what else? The batteries are using from a 20-volt DeWalt battery, and I just ran it direct. And it's actually, I wore it one time, it actually works very well. And so if you want to take and follow my directions for the prototype, I'm sure you could make something like that for yourself. If you end up making them and selling them, give me 5% of the profits. Otherwise, I'm just glad to let other people use this. It'll be great. Okay, this is the cover plate for the air. The air will flow through that hole. The fan will push the air through, and the air will be coming out of here. We've got to capture it and run it out the exhaust pipe. And so this is the top cover. And there's a flat spot right here, and it runs along here and along here, and then it overhangs so that the air can flow over and through to the exhaust. This is just a spacer just to keep things nice and level. So I'll run a bead of glue along here and here, and then this will just drop down on top of here nicely. And once that's glued, oops, once that's glued, air can travel through the whole length to the exhaust. So I will glue that now. Glue gun malfunction. It's surprising how much actual time it takes a minute or two for the hot glue to get hot and to cool down. Just don't touch it on your fingers because it's kind of slightly painful. Like that. So, let that cool. Air will flow through here and here over to the exhaust port that will be mounted over here. So I just found I made a mistake. See how this is supposed to be a nice little, this was supposed to be rotated around. So now I gotta cut this off, rotate it 180 degrees so that this circle lines up. So reattaching the cover from my mistake. Glue there. Done. This is the fan, 24 volt. You can read the number right there and order it. It costs $14 online. It's running right now off of my DeWalt battery, and it has pretty good volume. So we'll see what happens when it goes through the filter next. Okay, so this exhaust is from Menards. It's like $3 a piece for that. So this will get glued on the wood on one side and the wood on the other. But after I put it on here, you notice that I got the thickness of that thing. So probably what I'm gonna do is I am going to grind away with a grinder here and here and here, here and here and here and here, make a like a moon so that this can drop down further.
Okay.
Well, now we've got a nice space underneath here for the air to flow through. Air fan pushes here and comes out here. And now, of course,
do that again. Sorry.
No. An area right here where the air will come through to this cavity right in here. The air will push in here and come out here, and then we'll make a box all the way around. The discharge, what I did is I bought one of these things from Menards, and they were like $2 a piece, and I cut a straight line across there, and these fit nicely right down inside here. So then that will get glued down inside here. This will also get glued. Then I just wrap it all in this, what do they call this foam?
What's this foam board?
Foam board for matting. So then that will all be hot glued in place. And then the fan will be mounted right here. And that's where the hose hooks on. So I'll reply in a little bit after I get everything glued together. Okay, so this is the scoop. I drilled a hole through the helmet. The helmet I got at Tool Crib for $15. And I put the hole saw going one direction, and then I ran the hole saw going the other direction and pretty much created an oval here. I had a chunk of plastic that I had sitting in the shop. I just got done sanding it down, and that will fill that opening nicely and give a place for the hose to hook up. As you can see, this edge right here has to be sanded down in order for any glue of any type to stick, because this plastic is so shiny nothing will stick to it. Okay, as you can see, I sanded all the way around on the inside and the outside to a 1/4 inch or so, that this will have something to attach to. Otherwise, if it's too smooth, no glue will stick. Okay, so we had a blizzard last night. That's irrelevant. I picked up, before the blizzard hit, a helmet. These were at Tool Crib of the North for $15. And I cut this oval shaped hole in the helmet by directing a hole saw going this way, and then when I got halfway, I switched it around and had the hole saw coming this way to create an oval. It kind of took a little chunk out of there, but that's okay. And I had a chunk of plastic pipe that is kind of flexible. It's like it's fiberglass of some sort, and that will go over the top, and I'll glue that in so that the air can be funneled through to the helmet. Okay, so this is the electrical hookup for the batteries. This is the bottom part of a 20-volt DeWalt drill. What I did is I took it apart. There's a screw here and a screw there. Well, there's screws all over the handle. I took it apart and removed all of this inside guts, and then cut it off, shaved it off just flat, so that it actually can be mounted flat on the top. And the battery will slide in. And so now this is, when you take it apart, you will see there's a big conglomeration of wires and stuff like that, but you're just interested in the outside 2 wires, the 2 heavy wires, the black and the red. These other ones are for the battery charging, I believe. But that's what you're kind of looking for, is just those 2 outside ones. And then I'm going to be soldering these wires onto these wires and putting it all back together and mounting it up there. I've got the electrical component outside. It's the 2 outside ones there. And I'm going to be heating up, hopefully heating up just this solder and a wire on each side. So I got these soldered. I put what they call heat shrink tape on. And that, when you heat this up, it shrinks and gives it insulating factor. Not that we really care that much, but that's all soldered together, ready to go. Okay, now I've got that soldered. I got my heat tape that I need to tighten down. This I'll fire this up just to make sure everything's connected nicely. sucker really puts out the fan. This fan really puts out the air. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is two things. One, I'm going to rob this strap off of an old life jacket, and it's going to attach about, 3/4 of the way up here and here so that you can strap it around your belt. And then I'm probably going to make some additional straps right here in the corner so that if you do want to have a shoulder harness that goes up and over your shoulders and back down, you could. I'm probably going to take, this is a from Menards again. It's like vinyl shelf liner, but what it will do is it will make the surface of the box washable. Because right now it's just that foam. It's something like paper on top of foam. So I mean, it's great, it's light, but it also needs to be washable. So we'll work with that next. Okay, so I cut what these are called roofing tins. You can get them really cheap at the lumberyard. I put cut them in half, put one on one side, one on the other, so that when the battery mount, something I can pop rivet. I already pre-drilled the holes there so that will get pop riveted and mounted, so this isn't going to fall off. And then when the straps get mounted, I can pop rivet the straps to the tin as well, and nothing's going to fall off. So a little heads up, these are called roofing tins. They can come either flat or they can come pre-bent. And I've been kind of strengthening the box for different areas, and so I did this so that when the fan gets mounted on there, the screws have something to mount to. And I just used the hot glue gun and just hot glue gunned that in place. Up here, the battery mount is right here, and the belt that's going to carry the weight of the unit is right here. I mean, this is still really light, but so that kind of strengthens it so that when I use pop rivets to mount these things, I got something to pop rivet into. Okay, so this is the heat shrink tubing. See how it's getting smaller. Voila! Okay, we're in the final stages now. These are what they call pop rivets. And I put a pop rivet on the washer. And the washer, I previously, as you can see, I burned a hole. I just heated up a pop rivet with a torch and burned a hole through the nylon. This is the buckle off of a life jacket. And so then I also did a little strap in case we want to have, I'm going to put this all together, be right back. So, pop rivet gun works really well for attaching through the sheet metal and the strap together. Yay! Voila! So now that's the strap for attaching the box to your hip. Okay, so I got these fancy tightening straps at Menards, and they go over the 3-inch hose, and that goes over the pipe. Top off again. Okay, so the final stage in the project is to put a grill cover over the top. I was able to order this for the fan, and it was $3 for this component. And remember we did put tin underneath on top of the foam board, and so it should attach fine with that tin. So okay, so fans are on great. As an indicator, it's hard to judge how much air you have in here, but it's flowing pretty good. Fire hose, I don't know what length it came in, but we cut it off to 55 inches. When you stretch it out, and then it cuts off at 55. That gives you plenty of movement for your head. Now on these handy dandy hose clamps I got from Menards, they were like $2. I cut 2.5 inches off because they were just too long. Be aware that these are kind of sharp on the edge, so I might grind that down. Okay, now with the hose clamps cut off to length, and the hose actually cut to length, it'll fit on nicely over this 3-inch chunk of pipe. Be aware you could use 4-inch, but I just found that to be too clumsy and awkward and too big. So this is 3-inch, which was not easy to find at Menards, but they did have it in stock, and I'm sure you could find it in other places too. Okay, one thing that I did do is, this is a wire harness. It comes with see this little, you can pull it apart, and it goes over the wire, kind of protects the wire from any abuse. And I just had some left over. You can buy this at any auto store, or that anything with electrical would have that. Afterthought, you know, a lot of people don't want to sacrifice their drill, or they just plain don't have a drill. You can get these adapters. They're from Tool Crib, and they're to go so that you can go from a 20 volt to an 18 volt drill. I really don't like them personally. They're a pain in the butt. And so something like this would work well for just cutting it off, and then you would have the connector for like what I had. Be like that, yeah. So that's an option for people. I can't remember what these things are. They're like $20 or $30, I suppose. All these things that I should mention. Now this here is a battery that I use for my drill. I don't know how many amp hours it is. But it works on the job pretty well. Now this one right here, I tested it. It wasn't fully charged, but it ran for like 8-10 hours. The fan running, and it worked great for 8-10 hours. Now they do make batteries that are smaller. Back with this is a battery that I was thinking would work fine for them. Once again, I didn't test this on how long it would be, you know. This one, you can tell the batteries are really low, but it's quieter, and you get plenty of air coming out of there, even with the battery that's, I don't know what it charged it is. It doesn't even show a charge. So this would work for maybe not as long as a bigger battery. I mean, you could put a 60 volt battery on here too, and it would last probably all day long, or 2 days, or whatever it would be. Okay, so this is the hood that I got from Tool Crib, I think at $12. And we had to cut a hole in the back. Came up to be about 14¼ inches to the bottom of the hole. Top of the hood is up here. And this, of course, is a 3-inch hole. We also added a flap. As you can see, my wife sewed me an additional flap. I robbed some of this Tyvek off of another hood. I bought 2 hoods. So, and then the hood does come with a hole in the middle. And my wife sewed a new hole, sewed that shut. I mean, it's not a big deal. Comes with a hole in the front for a mask. But we didn't want to have that much air flowing right next to where your mouth is. And so we sabotaged one of these to get some more fabric. I just thought a few things that I wanted to add that I think I forgot to do in the videos is the type of filter and the type of motor if you're ordering. Now, the purpose that I made this contraption is, number one, that I myself might have to care for somebody that is in need of assistance and has the virus, and also that somebody in my community might need it, or friends that might need it. It works very well in conjunction with a face mask. It really should take care of the transmission of taking care of somebody in your home. And So I'll continue with the specs here just a minute. Okay, so this is the filter that I went with. Let me see, it doesn't have any model number, but it is a Hepifilter for a air purification system. The main thing is it has to be a Hepifilter. I don't think it has any specifics on it. But I also wrote down the fan and what my fan was a Sunyon, and it produced 159 CFM, which is quite a bit of CFM. It is a 24 volt fan, and I am only running 20 volt batteries through it, so it actually would produce even more air if you gave it more voltage, obviously. A failure that I did have was I ordered this air purifier filter, which it's just a fine filter and all the rest, but it's thin and it's really not very big wide. You can almost see the difference between the size of the filter and the thickness of the filter. And so this one, even though the air went through it, to me it didn't seem like it had enough air flowing through, and by giving it a thicker filter and a bigger filter, it gives more time for the air just to gently flow right through. This one, there's too much restriction for the air to travel through at any speed.